Hello, everybody. Welcome to a series that I'm going to say excited again, that I'm really so glad to be able to run, that I am excited to run. It's Brindlewood Bay, which was released through the Gauntlet. It was created by Jason Cordova, and it's a fantastic PBTA powered by the Apocalypse game. And I am joined by my lovely players today. So before we get into it, I would like to do a brief round of introductions just as players. So I'll go ahead first. My name is Jamie, they, them pronouns, please. I am the keeper or the GM for this game. I wanted to offer this game on the Gauntlet Hangouts because, do we really need an excuse to play Murder, She Wrote meets Cthulhu, right? I mean, at the moment I read the concept, I was like running for it. But yeah, so I had the excuse to watch as much Murder, She Wrote as I could before today. It's better than I remember, so that's a good thing. All right, and then next, let's just go in the order that I see. So let's go next with Sherry.
Okay, my name is Sherry. Use she, her pronouns. Should we talk about a character?
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay. So I'm just so proud because I got a name ahead of time. So, but move along. That's fine. So.
Anything else about yourself you want to share?
Oh, I don't know. I talk about games on the podcast, and I love games, and I'm so glad to play with all of you this evening.
Yay, awesome. And then next, Richard.
Hi, I'm Richard, he, him pronouns. I've been on the Gauntlet since about August. Been playing a lot of different games. And just got cleared to put events on the calendar, so I'll be putting things up soon. And I'm excited to play.
Awesome. And last but not least, I was going to say Doris. Puckett.
That's okay. You can call me Doris if you want to. You'll be calling me Doris soon enough, I'm sure. Hi, I'm Puckett, he, him pronouns. I play games on the Gauntlet and have odd ideas about Pasión de las Pasiones campaigns to run, which is currently kickstarting. And if you haven't already heard of that game or checked it out, you really, really should. I never thought a telenovela game would be so much fun, but it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And so I forgot to mention that this is part of the Gauntlet Hangout. So this is a gaming club. We put up and play games all the time. I will include links down below. You can check out gauntlet-rpg.com. It's a great place to meet people who love to play games. So let's go ahead and start. Someone's telling me to pitch my own games. I forgot. Yes, I make games through Sword Queen Games. I recently defended myself because Puckett said I must have 60 games by now. And I said, no, I only have 35 plus games. And I realized, wow, that sounds crazy. That sounds ridiculous.
That's such restraint. How has you kept yourself from having 60?
Yeah, we'll get to 60 soon enough. I know I'm going to take a break. But back to Brindlewood Bay, which is a fantastic game. What I want to do is I'll start talking about let me check. What I love about this game is that they actually, Jason wrote down a session 1 procedure, so it's really easy to follow. So I did the player and keeper introductions. Next is CATS. So CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. So I put it in the character keeper, which everyone has access to. So I'll go ahead and read it out. So our concept for the game is Brindlewood Bay is a role-playing game about a group of elderly women, members of the local Murder Mavens mystery book club, who frequently find themselves investigating and solving real-life murder mysteries. So basically, it's been a while. We've already been solving a few mysteries by this point, right? So the local law enforcement has mixed feelings about us already. Let me continue. So our murder mystery mavens become increasingly aware that there are supernatural forces that connect the cases they are working on, and in particular, a cult dedicated to the dark, monstrous aspect of the goddess Persephone, who will come to vex them. The game is directly inspired by the television show Murder, She Wrote, but also takes inspiration from the works of H.P. Lovecraft, cozy crime dramas, and American TV shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I will stress that I'm from the Philippines, so this is going to be like my perspective, but I'm happy to get help from folks. And next, let's talk about the aim of the game. So today we're going to begin by creating characters. After we create characters, we'll introduce them and populate a special section of the character sheet called a cozy little place. After that, we'll take a short break. And when we come back from the break, we'll have a beginning of session procedure, a special set of scenes called cozy vignettes, and then I'll present the mystery your characters will be investigating. After that, we'll begin regular play. And at the end of the session, we'll have a short debrief. So in future sessions, I'll present new mysteries near the beginning of the session, and we'll dive right into regular play. So what's interesting about this game is you can have more than one mystery going on at the same time. Like they recommend to cap it at 3, but that's interesting. And in terms of tone, so the tone of this game bounces between the cozy and the creepy. Most of the time, it'd be fairly lighthearted, but occasionally it would get very dark and menacing. Some kitschy, campy humor is permissible here and very much in keeping with some of the game's inspirations. But above all, your character should be taking everything they do very seriously, even if we're having a bit of a laugh from time to time. And finally, our subject matter. So the subject matter may occasionally get dark and challenging, especially when the dark cult rears its head. So in order to help ensure no one's fun is ruined by triggering subject matter, we're going to be using the following safety tools. So these are the ones I propose, but we can change them out as need be, whatever is best for the table. So what I'm proposing is the script change tool, lines and veils, and an open door policy. So how do we feel about those 3 tools for today?
Fine by me.
Okay, but I'll just go over them again just to be sure, and everybody who's watching or listening can know about it. So first off is script change. So script change means that we can pause every time we need to like check in on something. We can stop if we need to stop the game. You can just say these things out loud or type it in the chat, by the way. If we need to fast forward through something, like if we don't want to go over any gory details, if they come up, but we're going to keep it like this is like a television show, right? So it's not going to be too gruesome most of the time. But we can fast forward, even if it's like, oh, I'm not sure about the scene, I'm a little bored, let's fast forward to the next one. We can do that. We can also rewind in case we thought we were all right with something and then it turns out we're not okay with it. We can rewind and retcon anything at any time. The story is flexible. It can be anything we want. What's more important is your safety and comfort. And we have our lines and veils. So with lines and veils, anything that we say is behind a line will not show up in the game, period. Anything that is behind a veil may show up in the game, but we're not going to look too closely at it, or we're not going to go into detail. I do have a tab in the character sheet called safety. I see that some of us have started ticking it off. I wrote down some stuff already, but you can add more stuff as you need. And let's see. And our last one is the open door policy. If you need to leave at any time for whatever reason, please go ahead and do so. You don't need to tell us, but if you can, that'd be great. I do want to say that my internet's been kind of weird. So if I leave, just give me a few minutes. I'm going to go on my mobile internet and message someone on the Slack just in case. But there is an open door policy. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking for a minute. I'm going to let everybody take a look at the safety tab. And when you are done going over the safety tab, just type OK in the chat and we'll go over it. Okay, so let me review what we have on our safety tab. So for our lines and veils, we have hard lines on harm to animals, harm to children, sexual assault, and we have veils on eye injuries, sexual content, and torture. And we'll also ask first before sexual content comes up. Yeah, that sounds good with everybody. So next, let's see. After we've gone over the cats, we're going to get into character creation. I see that some people got really excited. We have some characters already on the sheet. We have names already. That's fantastic. Let me go ahead and share that with everybody watching. There we go. This character keeper was already created for the gauntlet. I just went crazy and added colors because I need colors all the time in my life. Yeah, so basically to create characters, we just need to, we have our names and our stats. Wow, everybody's super ready. Like we already have most of the characters. Let's see, what else do we need to add? Let me just double check. I'm going to go over it. So we have a name, a style. We have a cozy activity. No two mavens can have the same cozy activity, which you already covered. You can also assign, not can, but please assign 1 point to one of the abilities and note your final ability modifier. So, oh, I see some of us have already done it. Ooh, we pulled up sensitivity to 0. Interesting. But yeah, if you need a description of what these modifiers are, I put them in the reference sheet as well. So vitality is for strength, dexterity, endurance, athleticism, or raw physicality. Yeah, like when I was watching Murder, She Wrote, I was like, Jessica Fletcher is so fit. Like she's way more fit than I am. So like she's like jogging 3 times a day or something. Composure is if you need a steady hand, calm disposition, intense concentration, if you're trying to avoid a fear-based reaction, which may come up because we're dealing with a cult. Reason, if you're studying books, researching a problem, examining a crime scene, or otherwise engaging your mental faculty. Presence, if you're trying to charm someone, intimidate someone, or capture someone's imagination. And lastly, sensitivity is anything that involves supernatural forces. So this is really interesting. Okay, if you're cool with, how's everybody with their character ability modifier?
So, what are you referring to there? Like our?
Oh, yeah. I mean, did you add the +1 already?
I did.
Okay, cool,
So
cool,
proud of
cool.
myself.
Nice, nice, nice. And Richard did also. I know Puckett did because that's why the sensitivity is looking pretty good.
Well, and I added that extra point in from the move. So
nice, nice.
Yeah, I took the sensitivity up to 0 from -1, and then the point from the move, it brings it to 1. So yay!
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then next, which we've already done, a lot of us, is we have our Maven move, right? So I'm also going to say that this is our first session. So if you want to change it by next session, if it doesn't work the way you want, you can switch that out, no problem. And yes, Doris is going to be spooky granny. I like that though, because if someone picks one of the spookier Maven moves, it means a conspiracy and the cult is going to be more present from the beginning, which is great because I'm hoping we can have that final face off or showdown with the cult at the end of 8 sessions. So we'll see. No pressure though. Okay, when you're done, if you feel confident about choosing your Maven move, just type OK in the chat just to let me know we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay. Are we cool with our Maven moves? We're ready to go to the next step. Awesome. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves. So the idea is that we've all been friends for a long time. We've all been part of the same book club. The book club has been around for 10 years. It's up to you if you've been in this town for 10 years at Brindlewood Bay. Brindlewood Bay is a very cozy coastal town. It used to be what did they call it? A whaling. I think it's like a whaling town. That's what they called it. This is all very new to me, right? Because our whales in the Philippines are like we have whale sharks. We don't have whales. But yeah, so it's very cozy. It's a coastal town. You've all been friends for a long time. It's also been established that you are all retirees. Your partners, either you're a widow by this point, or you and your partner have separated. It's up to you if you have children or not. We're going to go over some of these questions, but for now, just please introduce your characters to me based on what's in the character keeper, and we will go in character keeper order if that's okay, as is tradition here on the Gauntlet. So we'll start with Sherry.
Sure. So my character's name is Monica Zabo, and her style is speed walking. She's she's a little on the short side. She's a little on the round side, but she likes to get out there and see the neighborhood and just be a part of it. So she has a different color, essentially tracksuit for each day of the week with matching pennies to go with it. And when it's hot out, she has a little headband that she puts on and little wristbands. She's very sort of fashion forward in the athleisure, styles these days. She's keen on those. She loves to garden. She is the friend that will bring you all of the zucchinis and all of the ripe tomatoes and zinnias when they start coming up. She just celebrates everything that comes out of the garden, and the front of wherever it is that she lives has like all different kinds of roses. And so when she comes to someone's house, she always brings roses for them if they're in season. That's her thing.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And for your Maven, let's see. What Maven move did you choose for them?
I chose Colt Seavers. Once per session, I can take a 12+ on any roll related to a wild or daring physical feat. She's faster than she looks.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Okay. And so that's Monica. Let's move on to Doris. Oh, I mean Puckett.
Hello, I'm Doris McAllister, and I like to bake cookies, and I like to quilt vests and do applique. I always take my tea with 2 lumps of sugar and a little bit of honey if I'm drinking my chamomile tea in the evening, but if I'm drinking my black tea in the morning, I take a little bit of cream with it. I have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. They don't visit as much as I'd like, but that's okay. Maybe that's for the best, because that way they stay away from some of the spooky stuff that I see around here. But when they do visit, it's an absolute delight to have them around. I also have 3 cats. I have an orange tabby. I have a calico. And then I have one that's just kind of gray and stripy. And, well, he likes to spend most of his time outside. He doesn't really get along with the other cats as well. So he likes to be an outside cat. But I love him just the same.
Okay, and which Maven move did you choose for Doris?
I chose Dale Cooper because, well, coffee isn't tea, but he likes pie. And I don't know any person who is a bad person who likes pie, who doesn't like pie.
There you go. That's a good point. And so tell us a little bit about the Dale Cooper moves, like what it does for you as a player.
Well, I'm a little bit more sensitive to things. And every once in a while, I see some spooky stuff. And It's not stuff that I tell my doctor about because they'd want me to get one of those silly scans with those machines that make all the noise because they'd probably say it's a brain tumor or something like that. But I'm just used to it. It's stuff that it just kind of pops in here and there, and I see how, well, maybe I see some of my friends who aren't with us anymore. But it's good to see them because I miss them.
Okay, and last but not least, Richard, why don't you tell us about Ruby?
Okay, I am playing Ruby Ellis. She is fond of like flowing garments and chunky jewelry, and she spent her career at working the art gallery scene in more urban areas, and basically when she retired, it wasn't so much retirement as like a change of scale on things, and she is utterly committed to the town's historical museum, and she's really well known for being able to put the pressure on people to pony up money to keep it running, and she's not above tapping her old Rolodex for her more urban contacts to keep it going. She's absolutely ruthless in keeping this thing afloat.
I love that so much. I love how all these characters are so strong from the get-go. Yeah, and tell us about the Maven move that you chose.
I chose Jonathan Hart, which basically she still radiates the kind of comfortable, arty glamour that she's kind of had her whole life, and she kind of just feel projects the idea that she's just the equal of anybody she might run into in these parts.
Amazing. All right, so those are initially our three Mavens. We're going to go around the table again. Some of us have answered these questions already, which is fine. So I'm going to put them in the chat. I think, yeah, so basically the three questions are: tell us about your deceased partner, though if you would prefer that they're not deceased and the two of you are separated, that's also fine. Basically, you're an independent woman, right? And your children, if any, pets are okay too. So Doris talked a little bit, talked about all the kids and cats. That's a lot. And their career before they retired to Brindlewood Bay, which we know Ruby has not yet technically retired, just downscaled the scope of things. But let's go back to the beginning. So let's start with Monica.
Okay, so my beloved David, he passed away 8 years ago. I still have roses from all of the funeral arrangements that were sent. They're growing in my yard. So that was a beautiful gift he gave me. And also my daughter, but she lives in California now. She works for Nike.
Wow, Nike. So how far is, like, when we say coastal town, how far is California from that? Like,
It's as far away in America as you can get.
oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's like across the expanse of it. So I don't know, what, 4 or 5
3,000 miles.
Yeah, just straight driving.
Wow.
So
Wow. Yeah, so I guess you hardly get to see her.
yes, you definitely would take a plane. So, but she calls me. We FaceTime. I have a FaceTime machine, a tablet just for that.
Oh my gosh, it's like hearing my mom, because my mom is a super active type. Like, she's won like aerobics awards and stuff. So it's really, and she's around. How old is my mom? My mom's like 60. I think she's like 66 now or something by this point. So it's really funny. All right, and let's see. What was your career before you retired to Brindlewood Bay, Monica?
She was a math teacher, And she did that for a lot of years, and then she retired like early when she was in her 50s, and then she drove a bus because because she wanted to learn to do things and talk to people, and the schedule fit with her gardening.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. And then how about let's check in on Doris? Like, tell us about your deceased or separated partner.
Oh, John's been gone for a while. He lived a good long life. He was a little bit older when we met. He was just a few years older. He died when he was 73 in his sleep. His heart gave out. He'd spent a very long life working very hard. We were married over 50 years. And well, that was good for the kids. They had a lot of stability. The grandkids knew, and it was very sad when he passed. I was a stay-at-home mom. I raised kids. I baked cookies. I made lunches. I cooked dinner. I learned recipes. I had my days mostly free when the kids were at school until they got home, but I kept busy. I volunteered at the school. I started reading clubs at the school. I did a read-a-loon program for them where kids who, for every book a kid read, they got a balloon and they could put a message in it and see if anybody wrote to them. I kept busy, and empty nesting was a little difficult, but I picked things up. I watched the PBS, and I did the what was it? Lilith's Yoga in You. I'm still not very flexible, but I'm more flexible than I was, and I learned all sorts of new things. I never thought I would take up embroidery, and I'm still not very good at it, but it's something that passes the time. And I learned how to make an amazing pot of tea. That was one of the things that the internet did for me, because I could watch people in Britain making their tea, and I learned so many tricks. It was almost magical. I mean, I never thought I'd ever talk to anybody who was on the other side of the ocean, and there I was talking with somebody it was Lancastershire or Pembrokeshire or something like that. Some appropriately fancy sounding town. I don't remember the exact name of it, but that was a very fun day.
Yeah. All right. And so, and last but not least, Ruby, tell us about your deceased partner and children or pets.
Ruby's partner isn't deceased, but he was a green card marriage. Of early in my career, there was a German artist in New York named Hans that I married to keep in the country. And we've always had an affectionate relationship, but the fact that he is he's also gay, and we just kind of lived separate lives and never bothered to get a divorce and have an affectionate relationship, long distance relationship. He didn't come with me because there was no reason to. I don't have any children, but as I got older, my relationship with the artists that I shepherded became more of a parental type relationship. And so I consider all my artists my children, and they occasionally breeze through.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so cute. Do we have a name for your husband?
Oh, yeah, that's Hans.
Hans. Okay, got it. There we go. That's so cute. Yeah, he may come by and visit once in a while. And so, all right, I think, so we are going to get to the next section, which I'm super excited about. So cute. So now we're going to work with each other to name one object that can be found in your home. So this is your cozy little place. And it should be related to any of the things we brought up. So like your partner or pets or the career or your hobby and so forth. So when we suggest this for you, for each player, note these objects on the part of your character sheet called a cozy little place. And by the end of this process, you should have 3 to 5 objects in your cozy little place. And the reason why this is important mechanically is because it could help you. You can use these objects to give you an advantage on a roll if it makes sense, if it's related. And then once you use it, it's marked off and you can't use it again until there's a specific advancement where you can unmark all the items in your cozy little place so you can use them again later.
And we're suggesting these for other people.
Yes, that's right. So for example, for Doris, it'll be the other players and me who will suggest things for you. So let's start with, I think I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So let's all make suggestions for Ruby and what they could have in their cozy little place. So what we know about Ruby is that they are amazing as a fundraiser, that they work with a lot of artists, and that the artists are their children. So Ruby, have you ever thought about being an artist yourself, or are you here to just purely support other artists?
I've dabbled, but and I had an art history education, but it became clear that I didn't have the secret sauce that made me maybe that I dabble for myself, but I've never taken it very seriously.
Right. Like it's really just a personal thing. Yeah, I think I'd like to suggest is that that you have an easel that was gifted to you by one of your artist's children. It's an easel that's been around for a long time. Like maybe we can attach it to a famous artist from before. That's the urban legend around it. So that's my suggestion for your cozy place. And how about Sherry Puckett? Do we have any ideas?
Yeah, I assume that you have guests all the time. I think that one of the things that you have is you have this closet that's full of like fabulous quilts that you've collected over the years, and blankets and things like that, that like when you have guests, you bring them out with all these pillows and you make this great bohemian spread out in the living room and everyone sleeps on the floor. So you just have this fat set of blankets and
nice. Oh,
I'm curious about that. Are you thinking that they are traditional quilts or more art quilts?
I was thinking art quilts.
Okay. My suggestion is that because of your longstanding association with artists, you have artwork in your house, which at the time, because they were struggling and you were repping artists, they were unknown. The art wasn't really worth anything. But over time, as they gained in prominence, so too did the art pieces that you have. And your house, should you ever choose for it to be so, could be something like a museum of modern art with some very well-known pieces that are in your private collection that museums would love to get their hands on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that works for me. I would say that like I kind of have stories and memories associated with all of them that mean that I just like there's no question that I would ever sell any of them.
Like any one of them could fund the museum for years, but they mean too much to you.
Yeah. Like
in some cases, they were painted specifically for you, or sculpted or created or so on.
Oh yeah, I think I probably have like a uncomfortable nude painting of myself somewhere in the house that I draw people's attention to, and
I love it.
Upstairs in the room where nobody's supposed to go to because of their
no, like it's the first thing you see when you come in.
Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking about your character that way. Yeah, definitely.
That sounds fun.
I have a suggestion for you because you're like a jet setter and you have been all over the world. I think there is he's retired now, but there is a captain. Is that what you call them? The people who fly the planes, right? They're still called captains. Am I mistaken? Pilot. and he has a private. Well, he used to have a private jet. He used to fly you around. So when he retired, he gave you his pilot hat. So it's there in your cozy
Okay.
little place. And it's up to you if anything happened between the two of you or not, or if it was just almost kind of maybe kind of situation.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that works.
I'm thinking, just a suggestion,
Uh-huh.
maybe you have a key to an Italian villa gifted to you by a French art dealer who has invited you to stay whenever you want in whatever type of relationship you would want. You know, just you're just
Okay.
crashing there, you're staying there as a friend. It could be something more, but it's just kind of there, and it's something that only you know about.
Okay. Yeah, that works. I like that.
Cool. So I think that's already 5.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Unless Sherry really has a great idea, we can make it 6. That's fine.
I think 5 is good. We'll go for a little like open space for later on.
Yeah. True. Because you can gain more items as we play the game, so that's super fun. All right, and so I'm already having so much fun. So next, how about for Doris? Let's all think about. You know what? I already have an idea. I'm gonna say that you used to have a cat, a white cat named Angel, who everybody in Brindlewood Bay loved. Every time she came by, good luck would follow. Every time someone was sick, an angel would show up, they'd get better. But after a while, she moved on. So it's whatever memento you have of Angel. I think that's in the. So it could be anything like a collar or whatever you think you'd associate with her.
What do you think about it being a little silver bell, like that was on her collar?
Yeah, I like that. And then there's like they sort of like engraved these small angel wings on the bell. Yeah, so that's mine. Anybody else?
I have an idea. How about you have a drawer that has every card your kids ever gave you?
Well, of course I do. Especially the grandkids, the ones that they drew.
Yeah.
Like, you would not believe how many different hand paintings I have in that drawer. Like,
Yeah, you
I have
never throw
endless
any of that
turkeys in
away.
there. Of course not. That's precious.
It's like filled to bursting. Like you have 2 drawers already.
What I'm thinking is that it's not like a kitchen drawer, but almost like a dresser drawer. Is that what you were thinking, Richard?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
Because there's a lot.
I like this. Very cool. Sherry, did you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I think that you have multiple teapots. You have all sorts of different teas, but there's one teapot that you bought for yourself just a year ago, and it was a splurge, and it was one that you looked at for 3 or 4 years, and it's sort of this lovely enameled trying to think, it's like octagonal, and it has like a wood, the handle's got wood on it as well as the enamel, and it comes with a little like stand that it's on, and it's just like something your heart loved when you saw the picture of it, so you kind of put your money aside, bought it, and you were so scared, but when you got it, it was even more beautiful than it seemed like it was to you on the internet.
Are you talking about that porcelain one with the little blue designs hand painted on the sides?
Mhm.
It's my favorite.
Okay, perfect. Richard, do you have another one?
Let me think. Yeah, I think that you have a one of the people that you've made contact with through like this online stuff, who you never would have imagined being in touch with, now sent you a lovely like carved wooden container that contains some quote tea that you're really not sure that you should actually imbibe.
You're talking about that little wooden box from Amsterdam, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've wondered about that. Who
But
knows?
it was such a lovely person gave it to you that.
Well, it's this teak box. And Helmut was so kind about it.
Cute. All right, Sherry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think that you have a set of quilting hoops. Then the stand that sits on them, it's the one that you can sort of tip back and forth so that you can bring your work closer to you. And you've had it for a very long time, and it's got just the perfect sort of like when you move it back and forth, it stays just the way that you want it to. Like it doesn't stick anymore. It used to be too tight, but now it's perfect.
Are you talking about the big one or the small one?
I was talking about the set of them that both fit onto your frame. So
Okay.
it's a set.
Okay, fantastic. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 also for Doris. So let's talk about Monica's cozy items. I'm thinking, I'm thinking you have this really rare plant, the kind that only blooms once every I think it only blooms when there's a blue moon going on. Like somehow the plant knows, the flower knows when a blue moon is happening that month, and that's when it blooms. But the rest of the time, it's just this beautiful, stately set of large leaves. But when it does bloom, it kind of looks like a full moon.
All right. I'll call it a blue moon lily, but it's not really a lily.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes.
How about from Richard or Puckett?
How long were you married?
Oh goodness, let's see here. We got married right out of college, so that would have to be 43, 40. Oh gosh, 49 years.
Okay. I like feel free to reject this, but I have like kind of a maybe anecdote from your courtship.
Okay.
That might work. That basically like what happened is that there were a couple of people that you a couple of men you knew in college, and two of them one of them you had kind of begun to you were in a relationship with, but the two of them moved to the other coast to go into business together, and you were corresponding with the person who you thought was your boyfriend, and it turned out that he had completely lost interest in you, and your other previously platonic college friend had been keeping up the correspondence. And so like you kind of developed a relationship with him thinking it was the other guy. And so you have these letters from that period of time when you were corresponding with him.
So but that wasn't David, right?
No, that was you thought it was.
All right. So it was Teddy from Charles and Teddy, the two that right. So Teddy.
And so eventually you found out, and that's how you got together. So you have a really intricate meet cute kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's like a bundle of letters with like tied with a ribbon.
Okay.
I love that story.
Sounds great.
Okay, and Puckett, do you have an idea for
So I've got
Monica? Mm-hmm.
So, Monica, how many walking, track, jogging suits would you say you have now?
Well, that's a little unfair. I mean, there's spring. That's the summer ones, which are absolutely different than the autumn ones. And come winter, I mean, you've got to have
Mhm.
face lined. So what? 7 times 4 minimum.
Well, I have this sneaking suspicion that because you're something of a regular at the shop in town that carries such things, and since everybody really adores you, that the employees got together and did something that they thought was really stupendous. I think they all pooled some money together and bought you a pair of Yeezys.
Of what?
Yeezys.
What are
Elaborate, overly designed shoes that are very, very stylish if you're in your 20s and are very expensive, but completely impractical for what you do.
really? I wear them to the shop though.
Because you wanted to feel good about it.
Exactly.
Oh my
I have to look these up now.
Yeah, they I just looked them up and wow, they are a thing. They look like shoes. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want anybody who loves them to feel bad.
I mean, we're all like
Oh,
grandmothers, so now you see kind of.
these are fabulous. Oh, yes. I think they got me the frozen yellow ones because I didn't have that particular shade yet. Just sort of greeny orange with a little bit of black striping.
To complement that suit that they knew you were going to buy just because it fits so well with everything else.
I love them and I hate them all at the same time, but I always wear them to see them. Frozen yellow. What a terrible idea.
Oh my gosh. Does that mean they're anyway? I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask what frozen yellow means. I feel like that's anyway. No, I'm not gonna bring it up.
I have a strong sense of what it means. I don't know if it's like that on these ghosts.
Well, John used to listen to this musician named Frank Zappa, and he did. I believe it was him who did that song "Don't Eat the Yellow Snow in Hawaii."
See, that's what I was thinking. I do have a suggestion for another item, unless Richard really has an idea they have.
I do. Go ahead, and if I think of it, I'll add another one on after you.
Sure. Yeah, the idea I had was that Sherry. I'm sorry. That. Still memorizing names. Monica. There we go. That Monica has, the top of a stick shift, like that ball where they where the numbers are for the different. And I think there was a time when Monica was in a speed situation where there was something wrong with the bus, and you had to figure out how to save everybody on the bus.
Yes.
Yeah. And to commemorate it, they took that, and then they when you make it look like gold, what did they call it? Like they
they bronzed it or whatever.
There, yes. And they put it in a fancy box, a fancy
So bronzed stick shift knob.
Yes, that's exactly it. And you were in the papers for weeks, and locally months.
It was amazing. Yes. So.
But Richard, you had an idea.
Yeah. You have a complete collection of first edition Nancy Drew books.
Yes.
Except for one.
Oh no.
Except for number 6.
Why are you so unkind?
Well, no, it's because something happened in that one that you just couldn't bear to. It was so heartbreaking that you don't consider that one to be part of the canon.
Oh, yeah, some sort of terrible death to a bird or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. A canary
I
that
like it.
didn't make it. Or parakeet. Okay.
That's so
Tragic,
great.
tragic bird death.
I'm sure the other mavens debate with you about it every so often. Okay, so I think that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, everybody has 5. And let me double check. Oh, I still have a tab open of Frozen Yellow, closing it. So checking. Yeah, I think this is a good time for us to, and it's almost the top of the hour. So why don't we go ahead and take a break until the top of the hour, and then we'll get into our first session. All right. See you
Sounds
all in a bit.
Great.
Okay, and Puckett is back, so we're just waiting for Richard.
I'm back. I'm here.
Oh,
Hang on.
hello.
Yeah,
No
there we go.
worries. That's okay. It's only been a minute. All right. So I'm so excited. So just as a disclaimer for anybody who's watching, this is my first time running the game. So give us a few sessions and I'm sure I'll be a pro. I'm really excited to have 8 sessions of this. It's so fantastic. I'm so excited. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, let's see. I do want to go over the moves just so that everybody's familiar with them. It is what's really nice about this game is that the moves are very straightforward. So the one that we're going to use the most, actually, most likely, is the meddle move, the meddling move. So I'm bringing it up because it's all the way at the bottom. Because this is a game about solving mysteries. So when you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, describe how you're doing so and roll with an appropriate ability. So for most of the moves, you just tell me how you're going to do it and then roll with the appropriate ability. The moves are not tied to a specific ability. So this is what Jessica Fletcher does all the time when she goes out of her way to, like, let's say, look for things. I just saw her do one in this episode. It was so great. She was like, "Oh, I have something in my eye. Do you have tissue in the glove compartment?" And she opened up the glove compartment to check how many miles the car had from the rental place, so she could do the math. I was like, "Wow, this lady is so good." But basically, so anything you can think of, it could even just be talking to someone to get more information. So you'll be using this a lot, most likely, and the day move and night move these are the catch-all moves for whatever actions that don't fall into anything else. So things are more dangerous at night because that's when our cult and its supernatural powers are more powerful. And so, for example, the day move, when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen. If you fail or lose your nerve, then roll with the appropriate ability. But then if you compare this to the night move, when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. But the keeper will tell you how it is worse than you fear. If you choose to go through with it, roll with the appropriate ability. Right. So it's more dangerous at night, basically. I will say that there is something really interesting that's not quite, I'm double checking. It's not quite covered here. If you don't like how something went, you can decide to activate your crown move. So you'll see that on your character sheet, you have something called the Crown of the Queen and the Crown of a Void, right? So for example, I'll narrate what happens. This is after you've rolled, after the miss usually. Things have gotten pretty bad. You can just say, no, that's not going to happen, and put on the crown, right? And so what happens is we will shift into a different timeline instead. So it's really cool. I love this aspect of the game. It's very cool. So you'll see that there's a difference. When you mark something from Crown of the Queen, you can mark anything in any order. You don't have to narrate this particular flashback at the time, just any time before the end of the session, right? So for example, we have your fondest memory of your late partner, or your fondest memory with one of your children, so on and so forth. But the Crown of the Void is different. So Crown of the Void is like intense. You have to mark the first one, the first empty box. Ooh, is there a description here? I forgot to check. If you, it's here. So if you hover over each one, it tells you what happens. So for example, if you mark a shadow in the garden, hereafter during cozy vignettes focused on you or cozy move scenes involving you, you must also narrate how dark entities subtly reveal themselves in the scene. And I do have to say, like, if you mark it all the way to the void, you have to retire your character in a way that shows how they are lost to the void. So there is that. But, you have like there's a lot of space before we get to that. I just felt like I should put that out there in the beginning, because it's possible that the cult will be able to like pull your maven into its clutches and you become part of the cult. So that's a possibility. Any questions so far? Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to go over those for sure. Let's see. There is also the cozy move, which is I encourage you to use it as often as you like. This is when you engage in your cozy activity, when you interact with each other. And then there's also the Gold Crown Mysteries move. So this is really powerful. It can only happen once per session period. So it doesn't matter who activates it. It's only once per session for all of us. So once per session, when any Maven says, this reminds me of something that happened to Amanda Delacourt, because Amanda Delacourt is this amazing character with her own series of books, the Golden Crown series. So work with the other players to describe how something is happening in a situation that reminds the Mavens of an event from one of the mysteries. So you basically talk about what happened in the book. Oh, this happened in this book and at this point, and this is how she got out of it. And so you act like you took a 12 plus to the roll because Amanda showed you how to do it beforehand. And aside from that, the occult move is a little complicated. I want to save that for another time. I don't think we're gonna hit it just yet, so I may prove myself wrong for all I know. But I do want to look at theorize. So theorize is when the Mavens have an open, freewheeling discussion about the solution to a mystery based on the clues they have uncovered and reach a consensus. So this is the important part. Roll plus the number of clues that you have found, not including void clues, because you can get void clues. And those clues are about the greater conspiracy, not this particular mystery. So roll with the total number of clues. And so I think this shows clearly how, even though I present you a mystery, all of us do not know, including myself, who is the actual perpetrator. Like, we won't know until this roll is made and until we hit the numbers. So it's really interesting. It's a really fun way to go about it, I think. And yeah, so I encourage you to theorize as often as you like when you've pulled together enough clues. And just so you know, the mystery that we're presenting today to you has a complexity of 6. So you just need to, so it's one of the easier ones to start off with, because we can go all the way up to like 8 or 9 with a mystery. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's get into it. So it'll make more sense as we play anyway. Okay, so let's set the scene. The 3 of you, actually, I feel like, so we're going to say that there is an opening song that's very similar to Murder, She Wrote. So it's a very, my partner has heard me watch the show so much that he can sing it on command. And so we see vignettes of each of you going about your day, right? Like I want to say what this opening looks like, what we see of each of you just for a few seconds. So we'll go around in character keeper order. Once again, cannot go against the face of tradition. What few seconds do we see of Monica for the opening sequence?
I think you definitely see her speed walking down the sidewalk towards the downtown, and she's got her little headband that matches her coat, and her tracksuit and her tennis shoes, and she's making good speed. She's got her chin up, and she's waving to people as she goes by.
Right, and they're all like waving back. Yeah, amazing. And how about, what do we see of Doris in the few seconds of Doris in this opening sequence?
I'm sitting in my favorite chair. I am actually doing the quilting part of making a quilt using my favorite quilting hoop. And there is a pot of tea sitting next to me, with the one with the wooden handle that pours the octagonal porcelain pot. And there's a small cup of tea and there's steam rising off of it.
Perfect. And what few seconds do we see of Ruby in this opening?
You see her, she's just getting off the phone with a city council member, and you see that she's got her her like big board up of the people that she's putting the pressure on, and she like crosses out one of the names, like you know, she's taken care of that one.
Amazing. I love it. And so I also think that in this opening, we see various shots of the three of you and your adventures so far, and the mysteries you've solved, and the local law enforcement. And we see like shadows from the sides. We see this suggestion of a cult that is hiding here in the shadows of bright Brindlewood Bay. But we also see the three of you gathered around for your book club that you have been at for the last 10 years, for if not all of you, most of you. And you are currently, so it shifts towards where we are, on the top floor of the Candlelight Booksellers. But before that, Puckett brought up a good point. We want to activate Doris's move. Right. So Dale Cooper, at the beginning of each session, I will grant you, the keeper will grant you a boy clue in the form of a strange, unsettling dream you experience. Right. So let me take a look. So Doris, what you dream of is, I'll say that before the scene, before you showed up for this meeting, Doris, I have to ask you, when you dream and you see John, what does John look like in your dreams?
He's always a young man, the same charming, handsome man I fell in love with all those years ago. He never ages in my dreams.
And so in this dream, like all the others, it always starts with you feeling like you're waking up in the middle of the night. But there's this sense of warmth and comfort and love. And when you slowly open your eyes, you see John sitting at the bed, and his hand is on top of your hand, and he's smiling gently at you, as he always does. And he says, "Hello, Doris. I wish I didn't have to come here to tell you this, but you have to be careful. My dear heart," he says, as he reaches out to touch your cheek. And so as he looks at you, there's also this, you can hear this chanting in the background. It sounds like a machine at first, very rhythmic, very mechanical. But after a while, you start to hear the timbre of voices, and it sounds like it's coming from beyond your door. And when your deceased husband turns to look at the door, he looks back at you and he says, "No matter what, don't open the door. Doris, promise me that. Don't open the door. Do you understand?"
Well, what's behind the door, John?
Oh, Doris, she's behind the door. And at that moment, you wake up.
Goodness. That's the last time I get a Denizzi's pizza with extra pepperoni that close to bedtime.
Absolutely. You can still smell the pizza in the air as you wake up. And so now you're able to join everybody else at the top floor of the Candlelight Booksellers. So this is your weekly meeting of the Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. So as the camera pans around the loft where you hold your Murder Mavens meetings, what I'd like to ask each of you is, what do we see that shows how you have personalized this space? Like here at the top floor of the booksellers. Why don't we start with, let's go in reverse character keeper order. Let's start with Ruby. What have you done to personalize this space for your book club?
Well, Ruby really enjoys the figuring out part of the thing, and she's always trying to get to the answer before the end of the book. And to that end, she has there's a cork board in the room, and that has like index cards with character names on it and that kind of thing, with like, and there's yarn and all that. That's kind of like we're only partway through a book right now, so it's like being in the process of being filled up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do we have a title for this book? I have a feeling it's probably from the Golden Crown series, right? So we'll come up with the title in a bit. Doris, what have you done to personalize this space?
Well, as everybody knows, I've been practicing my embroidery. I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm working on it. I'm trying. And so what I've been doing just to practice is I've been embroidering the title of every Gold Crown mystery book into a little piece of embroidery with lilacs around it, sometimes lilies, sometimes roses, some vines, just to make it pretty. And I've been framing them and putting them up here in our little nook.
Lovely. Absolutely wonderful. I like the idea of an embroidered little gun for like one of the mysteries, one of the books. Yeah. And so, Monica, what have you done to personalize this space?
I think that what she has done is she has brought a lovely basket of vegetables and a great big bouquet of roses. And this is like she always comes armed with these things. Plus, her face is set. She's included some brown paper bags. You are going home with zucchini, whether you want to or not. And that is very much, that's your fate this evening.
Absolutely. And I also want to ask everybody who here comes by to check in on the club, like a young person probably who helps out with whatever little things you need or errands just in case. It could be someone related to one of you, or it could just be someone who works at the bookstore, both.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's Lori, and she's the junior librarian who does the evening shifts the most often and then has to close up at night. And she's the daughter of one of my students, so I didn't ever teach her, but I know her mother. So I always ask her how her mom is doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Lori comes in. I want to ask Ruby, what is it about Lori's fashion sense that either excites you or bores you?
Sorry, I spaced out for a second there. What is it about her fashion sense that about Lori?
Yeah, that excites you or bores you?
Mm-hmm. Lori is not leaning into the librarian thing in the right way. So it's coming off as more dowdy. And I feel like, she doesn't seem to have a lot of busy nights. And I think that she should be attracting more attention. A sexy librarian is something that should be getting a lot of play, and she doesn't seem to be doing it. So, I kind of want to gently nudge her towards something that's, not out of character, but plays into that type a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you've seen her from the last time when you meddled with her business and suggested. So she's wearing a really nice Vavavoom shade of lipstick, but the rest of the outfit, it's not working. It's not going with the lipstick. It's just clashing terribly. You could get what she was going for, but it didn't quite pull it off. So she comes up the stairs, and so to get up here, like the stairs are a little small, like they're one of those roundabout stairs, but there's also an easier way to access another set of stairs for people who need it. And as she makes her way up, she decided to take the smaller stairs, even though she has this huge stack of books with her. She can barely see around them. And
I can run over to help her with those.
honey,
be careful. Don't get your feet up here.
Oh gosh, Monica, thank you so much. But really, no, it's okay. I got this. And like the books are starting to like.
I know, and I didn't catch them. I'm like, it's okay, hon.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. How's the meeting going? Can I help you with anything? Would you like me to get you more tea?
Join us. We're just getting to the good part of the book.
Oh, has someone died? And her eyes widen.
They died on the 3rd page in this one.
How gruesome was it? She asks, and that's when you see that little sharpness in her that you've always suspected is there.
It was brutal. Come and sit down. Come on, and we'll just. She'll take all. It's like Monica isn't that curious about those things. She just sets them down. Doesn't look to see what she was carrying up or check what her plan was, but tries to get her to sit down and talk about the book.
Absolutely. And so the meeting goes off really well. She's so happy to be with the three of you. She's sitting a little awkwardly and shyly, but she's happy to be there. And as the meeting, as the weekly meeting is ending, you hear another set of heavier footsteps going up the stairs, and you hear this telltale huff and puff. And you recognize this person before you even see him. You know that it is Brindlewood County's Chief Law Enforcement Officer, Sheriff Wyman. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Dalrymple. I'm going to copy and paste it because I'm sure I did not pronounce it correctly.
Dalrymple. Yeah.
Dalrymple. Okay. Close enough.
That was a mouthful.
It's so funny because I've read it so many times and it just occurred to me now when I'm going to say it out loud. So as he shows up, he's a little jowly along the sides. He's got like a big paunch. And as he comes up, he goes, when are you going to install an elevator, ladies? He asks.
We don't need an elevator. You need some zucchini, though. So I'm going to pack you some right now.
No. I'm allergic, ma'am, he says. And he pulls off his hat and he's like putting it on his chest to pull away.
No one's allergic to zucchini.
It's true. No one's allergic. Wait, if anyone's listening who is allergic, we apologize. But I just want it to be obvious he's lying. That the sheriff is lying. And he looks around at you. I will say, Doris, how can you tell when the sheriff is nervous? Like there's like a tell he always has.
Flop sweat. He's not very good at hiding it when he's nervous. It's pretty visible to anyone who looks at him. At least it's visible to us. We pay attention to such things. Other people might assume he's just a little winded from climbing up those stairs. And they are steep and they are narrow, and it is a bit of a workout, but we know him.
Absolutely. But you notice that he's extra sweaty today. Like you can see it, like the back of his head, the hair is like matted down to his neck. And he says, ladies, I won't mince any words. I don't want to have to come to you to ask of this, but something's happened, and I suspect foul play, he says. And he says it a little dramatically, like he's waiting for the four of you to gasp. So he's like, foul play.
Oh, I gasped.
I look over the brim of my glasses at him.
Oh no, what's happened?
Yes. Well, it's been terrible, you see. I'm sure you've heard of him. Albert Kraus. So all of you know that Albert Kraus is a wealthy financier. He he and his family own this really large house, practically a mansion, in one of the more prime areas of Brindlewood Bay. I would say, in fact, that that Ruby, you know his wife really well. Amanda Krause, she always tries to outdo you with the charity events. So you know her quite well. Um, yeah, and you also know the son who is trying to get into the art gallery business as well. So you're quite familiar with the family, I'd say. Uh, but I also want to ask. Um, oh, okay, yeah. We'll get into this a bit. But what you hear, what the sheriff explains to you, is that he turns to you and he says, "We just dragged out his body, uh, just this morning, and he's dead. He's deader than dead." And the family was apparently out on a yachting vacation. You know, these rich types with their yachts. Uh, and they claimed that he was drunk and he simply fell overboard, but he shakes his head and you can tell he's not buying it. Oh, sorry, Sherry, you're saying something?
And she looks at him and she goes, well, you do have good instinct for these things. What do you think it is that's making you wonder if so there's foul play?
Yeah, my instincts are the best, he says. Absolute best. I'm just here to get a second opinion. I obviously have the case in hand. He says, I think this is actually a good time. Let's double check. Yeah, to have a meddling move. Because you're plying him for information. So let's see. What do you think you're using? Which ability do you think makes sense here?
I think she is a math teacher for a lot of years, and she's heard a lot of excuses why there's no homework. And she knows that the best way to deal with these things is simply to play along very seriously and let them spin it out to a point that, you've just got all the information from them. You just keep nodding along and absolutely believing them. So I call it composure. So what do you?
Nice. I agree. So just roll with your composure. Just roll with 2d6.
Okay.
And let's see how it goes.
It gives me a 9.
Ooh, nice. Okay. I'll read it out loud for people watching. So when you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, in this case, we are plying our sheriff, describe how you're doing so, which you did, and roll with an appropriate ability. On a hit, you find a clue. So you rolled a 9, right? Is that right? Okay. So on a 7 to 9, there's a complication either with the clue itself or a complication you encounter while searching. I will tell you what the complication is. So what he says, he lets out a long sigh, and he says, what I've heard though is that the family is not doing as well as they should be. I heard that there's a rather large debt that the family owes, but I haven't been able to get more information than that, but I'm sure it must be true. I'm sure that usually when you mix money and debt and death, there has to be something, he says. And so the complication, I think, is I think your character knows about this debt collector. So can you tell me about them, Monica? Who is this person? You've heard about them, like they've been going around trying to shake up this family to get what they feel is owed to them.
Like a longtime resident?
Yeah, could be, or it could be someone new.
Oh, that's interesting. Like someone new from New York City. Those are always the villains, aren't they?
Yeah, let's do that. The New York
yeah.
Sure.
So, and I can't think of a more villainous name than Roger. So how about Roger Rogers? Roger R. Rogers.
I'm like, okay, I'm putting that down. Roger R. I will fix this NPC sheet during the break. But yeah, fantastic. So Roger R. Rogers is from New York, debt collector.
Roger,
Right.
Roger.
Yes, Roger Rogers. My partner doesn't believe me. And so, but there are a lot of rumors surrounding this. We don't know. Like, I'll say that you've heard conflicting rumors. Other people say that he's just visiting. Other people say that he used to work with loan sharks, or he still works with loan sharks. So we shall see. So the sheriff turns to look at all three of you, and there's this awkward moment where he's just silently looking at all three of you with wide eyes, and he says, "I'll get out of your way then, ladies."
She goes, here's your zucchini.
Allergic. Oh, I mean, and he's trying to fake a sneeze, which is not working.
And she'll go, is the body at the coroner's?
Oh, I forgot to mention that part. He says, actually, it's at the fish market. And and he explains that it's currently being kept in storage, in the cold storage, until it can be shipped back to Boston for the funeral. So actually, the three of you have a pretty good idea of who's doing that, who's keeping the body. It is probably, I cannot pronounce this. I'm just going to put it in the chat. Etienne Beauregard. Beauregard. Wow, I totally did not get that at all. Yes. Yeah. So you know that he's probably in charge of taking care of the body. You can go check it out if you like.
He's a friend of mine. It's where I get my fish emulsion for my roses, of course. Let's go see Etienne. He's sort of a cutie, too. And he's single, I say to Lori.
Oh, yeah. And Lori goes, what? And she starts to blush. I will say that actually Ruby knows that Lori is not into men.
Okay. I just kind of do you we're taking you away from your work, dear. Why don't you go, and that really isn't working for you. You need to we'll talk later.
It is it? And she starts to smear the lipstick off her face. Like, should I remove it now? And she's putting it all over.
Don't do anything. Don't. All right, I have I am right on it. I have my kit. And I just get the cold cream wipe, get that off there, and send her on her way. Say, don't try anything until we have a chance to talk.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Ruby.
Of course.
Okay. Oh gosh, I realized I did forget a step before we got into it. I need all of you to mark 2 more ways that you can earn XP. Right. So,
yes.
Yeah. So I just realized it. So here it is under the end of session section. So the one that's always marked is, did the Murder Mavens solve a mystery? So this one's marked no matter what. And then you choose 2 others. I accidentally skipped a couple of steps because I was so excited. All right. What did we choose for everybody? Just because I'm meddlesome.
Well, I chose share wisdom with a young person and behave like a woman half my age.
Awesome. Yeah, let's smash the patriarchy. Act half your age, whatever. How about for Doris? What did you mark for her bucket?
I selected sharing a memory of a family member and doting on someone because I can't see myself not doting on someone at some point. I mean, everybody needs cookies, don't they? Especially warm, fresh baked cookies.
Awesome.
I like them. So,
are we gonna have zucchini cookies? Those are actually kind of good. I have
zucchini bread is very good.
Zucchini bread is what I was thinking. Yes,
especially with plenty of cinnamon in it.
Oh, I'm so hungry. Okay, yes.
And I picked doting as well, just because I think that's thing. And then, did you show someone that you still got it?
Yeah, awesome. I love these triggers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so, would you like to go straight to inspect the body, or would someone like a cozy moment, like a short vignette before we get into it? Like, what are we feeling?
How do we feel about splitting the party? Okay. I'm thinking I'd be better seeing what's up with this this art gallery startup that's going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I will say, so you'd like to check out the son and the art gallery.
Yeah, I want to see, I know what it takes to start one up. I want to know if it's doing well, or if he's doing it correctly, if he's bleeding money, if whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'll say that as you make how do you move around Brindlewood Bay, by the way? Do you have a scooter? Do you have a bike? Do you drive?
I think that towns like this tend to have kind of like a waterfront area where all the touristy stuff and everything is, and then people kind of live back in the hills. But I wanted to. I'm kind of as close to town as I could get with a little bit of privacy. I'm generally I try to cajole somebody into giving me a ride downtown, and then I walk wherever I'm going, and then bully someone into taking me back home later.
Perfect. I love it. So this time I'll say that it is Stephen who gives you a ride. So Stephen has he's a young man, and he's been trying to get into Harley Davidsons for a while, but it's aesthetically it's not working, right? He looks more like when he's on top of this Harley Davidson, it just shows that he's compensating for something, in other words. And so, but it's a great way to arrive in style, to closer to the art gallery, and you walk the rest of the way. And so you can see that the art gallery, it's very, this used to be a bread and breakfast, but that the family sold the bed and breakfast to move to somewhere else close by. But the son has completely gutted this bed and breakfast. Like, do you remember that movie, Beetlejuice? Like when the family moved in and they tried to, it looks like that. So he has tried to modernize everything. He has removed all this beautiful wood paneling that's been there for the longest time. The color scheme looks like CMYK except hungover. So it's horrible to look at. And you see him. His name is David Krause. And his fashion sense can be described as avant-garde in certain circles. It depends if you squint at him. if you squint at him and pull your head back, it looks pretty good. But if you look on close, so there's a lot of sharp lines, and it's a deconstructed dinner jacket that he's wearing, and these sharp, painful shoes. You can hear his toes from afar, and he has a nice enough face, but it's in a permanent sneer. He has resting sneer face. Basically, even when he's happy, he looks like he's sneering all the time. And he's looking around and he's yelling at people. No, 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 no. The bow should not be there, please. He is a brilliant artist. He died for his work to make a statement. Can we handle this carefully? He says. And there are people who are holding this huge glass etching, moving around. And he says, I swear, if there's a single scratch on this thing, and he's completely ignoring you, like he's focused on the work. And you can see there are like a dozen people moving around.
Is this a piece I know?
Yes, you do recognize it.
Yeah.
It's quite a controversial piece because people claim that it wasn't finished before the artist died in mysterious circumstances. Some say that he committed suicide for art. Other people say that it was just completely an accident. So.
All right. Well, as my opening gambit, I come in and what's most important to this is that I say well, I think it would be even more respectful of Henry's legacy if you were to actually hang it right side up.
And he stops to look at you, and he looks back at it. Oh. You're right. You fools! Right side up, he says, and he's trying to get everybody to move around.
I give him the cookie jar stare. It's it's very he might be able to like pawn this off as a mistake of his underlings, but he knows that I know that it was his mistake.
Absolutely. And he looks a little cowed and he comes over and he says, I don't think we've had the pleasure to meet just yet. And you know that he doesn't come to Brindlewood Bay often like the rest of his family. He's often back and forth between Boston and New York.
Well, I mean that kind of tells me all I need to know about his credentials as an artist or a gallery patron. All right. Well, I'm going to hold out my hand and introduce myself, and with the presumption that he'll like. If he doesn't know who I am, that says a lot about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm wondering if we should make this a move.
Well, and I'm trying to kind of like rattle him into giving me information.
Ooh, okay. So we could say it's a meddling move.
Right.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'm definitely using presence for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So roll with presence, and let's see how it goes.
Ooh, that is a 3 + 2, 5.
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to say that as you put up your hand and introduce yourself, he looks a little shocked. And my question for you, Ruby, is why have you been blacklisted for certain events relating to the art world?
I think that I was I think my last big show that I was kind of a failure. And it had to do with basically my reputation on one artist. In a situation where the and kind of telling off a bunch of people who, that I still think I told the truth, and I still think I was accurate, but I kind of burned everybody on the way out.
Ooh, yeah. And we can see that it's only affecting like this small part of the art world, because your reputation is still like mostly intact after all these years and all the work you've done. But
people who weren't there know, that like I didn't say anything that wasn't true, but it was also stuff you don't say.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's supposed to be a layer of it. And I'll say that you recognize him from there. Like you realize he was there in the background, like we see a flashback to that moment, but he wasn't dressed the way that he is. Because if he was dressed the way that he is now, back then you would have noticed him for sure. In fact, back then he just looked like he was trying to go for a beatnik look. So it was just a black turtleneck, this horrible little, what do they call those things? Like a
beret.
A beret.
Yeah. But it was like too small for his head, right? Like you have to have a little allowance. It was just a little too small. You could see the rim of the skin fighting back against the beret. And so when you saw him at the party, you were just like, he's not worth my time. And you just like, but it turns out he was there. So I need you to mark the condition of, what do you think explains how you feel about that situation? Like, do you feel like you were righteous because you were right the entire time, even if other people didn't respect that?
Well, I think that, well, you know what? I'm actually going to, I'm going to turn this into a crown move.
Well, I like it. Let's go for let's go for it.
So, and the way I'm going to do this is, I am going to talk about how I was an imperfect mother. So basically, like the situation was that there was this young artist who I really believed in, and I put on this show. There were no takers. I was utterly devastated, and made this all known. But this was someone that I had really taken a great liking to and a fondness, and but like I kind of took him down with me, but because I did this, and it became kind of the inciting incident, because the fact that I burned down his career accidentally caused him to take his own life. And it's the thing that actually caused me to retire. It's like publicly, like the reason is that like I had burned all these bridges, but really I couldn't bear that I had done something so awful.
Wow, I really like that. Yeah, so with that, we treat it as if you had rolled one higher instead of a miss. That means that instead it's a 7 to 9. So let me just. There's a complication either with the clue itself. Ooh. Mm-hmm. I see. So the moment he sees you, he recognizes you. And he says, "Oh, what do I owe the pleasure to have the great, generous, hardworking, stalwart member of the art community, Ruby Ellis, gracing my humble. But he's like looking at how over the top everything is. A humble art gallery."
it would be remiss of me not to come and make the scene.
And he says,
So
well,
I see you've been, and I kind of look around and I let the fact that he's made every wrong decision. I say, I see you've been busy.
quite, he says, and you sense how he falters a little, and you know, I have to admit, I'm quite shaken up by my father's death. It couldn't have happened at a more inconvenient time, he says. It's like Mother says, he was always just thinking about himself and putting himself first. Couldn't he have waited until after the art gallery opened?
How awful for you to have your plans disrupted by the death of your father.
Yeah, I know. And as you say that, you notice in the corner of your eye that one of the workers is putting away a rug, and you can see the telltale soak of old blood in the rug. And this is not a rug that you normally see in a place like this. Like, you recognize, I want to say that with your expertise, you recognize that these were especially made for the yachting club locally. So you know that this rug was probably on a yacht, most likely the yacht where the father died. So you see the rug.
It's being moved.
Yeah, you can see that there's a guy who's, and like as you're talking to the son, he's nervously looking at the rug and looking at you, like rug, you.
Yeah.
And he's
So well, I would love to see your collection that you plan on putting up here. Would you show me your storeroom?
Oh,
I presume that's where the rug is being taken.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm trying to
Exactly.
Force him to at least make an excuse that I can pick apart later.
Exactly. And he says, "Oh, the storeroom is currently under renovation. So I feel like if you want to convince him, I'll need a day move, right?
Okay.
So only because I'm trying to think about how it's risky. I would say that you notice as you're asking these questions, that this older woman shows up, and she has these bright blue eyes, dark raven hair, large pearls around her neck. You would have remembered her, but this is the first time you're seeing her, and she's watching from the corner of the room. And as she looks at you, you can tell that she's pulling out her phone, like she's contacting someone, like messaging them while she's looking directly at you, not taking her eyes off you.
Okay. So and I'm trying so the way this move works, let me just kind of
Let's go over it.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So I think then because of that, I think that's going to be composure, because I'm trying to, cover up I'm trying not to tip my hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretend it's all casual.
Yeah. So, okay. And here we go.
Oh, and also let me know, what are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think I'm going to give the game away that I've seen something. Like, it's going to be clear that I am that I have suspicions. Yeah.
Good one. Okay, let's see how it goes.
5. I have not succeeded in a roll since Monday. I didn't make any rolls either.
No, do we need to burn the dice? Do we need
to it's just I rolled two snake eyes last game.
Wow. Oh my
in a row.
Oh my
All right, so
let's see. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. You know what? I'm gonna say what happens is As you ask that question, that's when you hear from the storeroom someone shouting, "Fire! A fire! Fire's gotten out! Sir, what do we do?" And then there's someone coming in with a fire extinguisher, and you can see like it's a small fire. It's nothing dramatic, but there's a lot of smoke pouring out of the area, and you can see that he looks relieved about the fire when he hears about it. And then the woman just walks away. Turns over and goes out of sight. I will say that you can still try to take a look at the storeroom later,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
take advantage of this chaos right now to slip away if you want to.
Yeah, and I think what kind of happens is that the woman catches me looking at, like, we make eye contact, because like she's watching me and then I'm, like this moment comes up where like, she just definitely knows that I'm aware of her, and there's like this meaningful eye contact that happens. That just kind of shows like, oh yeah, there's something going on, and everybody involved knows that everybody else knows.
Yeah, and I'll say like as you see her, you notice that as she cranes her neck, that there's this beautiful tattoo on the back of her neck that just comes a bit close to her ear. But as she looks at you, the tattoo looks like it's shifting and moving on its own. But surely it's just a trick of the light.
Okay. All right. I will. Yeah. I'll boogie out of there in the chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then so we'll cut to what's happening with our other characters, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Yeah, but you do just as a reminder. Yeah, I realize I should also have a sheet for the clues that you have so far.
I did record them on your lists one just so we didn't lose any.
Ooh,
But there's just
there
the
we
one,
go.
right? Did we get one? We got the bloody carpet, I guess.
You got the bloody carpet, and you also got the debt collector. That was the one from the sheriff. So you know that Roger R. Rogers. So we have, we have two clues so far: the bloody rug and Roger E. Rogers, and then one void clue. Yeah, but that's a good point. I will fix the sheet. In fact, I think I just realized like we're about to hit the top of the hour, so I will spend the break updating the character keeper a little bit, and then when we come back, we will check in on our other mavens. We'll check in on how Monica and Doris are doing. Does that sound cool?
Sounds good.
All right, I'll see everybody in 10 minutes. Hello. Sorry, I got caught up working on the NPCs.
It's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I keep forgetting. But yeah, I'll be better prepared for the next time. Let's see. What else do we include? Fishmonger. He's also, let's see, Monica's friend, right? Like, so you're close to our fishmonger. Let's see. Friends with Monica. She's a regular. Currently keeping body in freezer. Okay. There's still a few more things, but I think that's okay for now. I really want to include the clues though. Yeah, maybe I should make maybe a new one for clues. Yeah, we don't obsess. Can fix it up later. I'll just write what we have so far for the clues. Clues, bloody rug, possibly burned. We don't know yet. We also have the debt collector who came by, and void clues. Visit from husband. Okay. I think that's it for now. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and Puckett's back. Okay. Yeah, I like the picture I got for RRR. Like, I was like, I need the exact combination of skeevy but attractive. Well, it's on splash.com, so everybody on that side is attractive because they just take nice photos of whoever. Okay, so let's clue in on what our other mavens are up to. Though, of course, when it makes sense, Ruby, you can come in a bit later in the scene. You can say that you came back after, so no worries. Do we want Doris and Monica to go straight to the fish market?
Doris?
I'm good with that. If that's what if you think, if you're interested in that, Jerry.
That sounds wonderful. I would very much like to go to the fish market.
I mean, Etienne does have a rather unusual catch for the day.
He makes a point of it.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so how did the two of you get to the fish market? Like, same question I asked Ruby earlier. How do you get around usually?
I kind of think that, she's a bus driver. So I picture that she doesn't have a bus, but she has one of those vans that, like, people who are in wheelchairs and stuff, she can, like, stop and, go and pick them up and take them to places like the church and the community center. And that's kind of one of the things that she does for her friends. But she has a perfectly fine, passenger seat too. So that's, so do you want me to drive, Doris?
I haven't driven in 15 years. I would be terrified. I'd worry that I'd wreck your wonderful van.
Oh, I love going down to the bay, though. It's all downhill. Let's go.
Right, so it's a beautiful day out. The sun is out. The air is fresh. And the question I have for the two of you as you come closer to the fish market, what do you see that reminds you of you? What do you see that reminds you why you love the fish market, or what about this place makes you hate coming down here?
I think I love it because there's like all the little businesses in town, and there's but lots of restaurants because we have the tourists, plus we have the sort of local places. And if you go to the fish market like early in the morning, there's all the sort of super professionals chefs and things, but if you go later in the day, you still see a lot of business owners that have like the later night things, and they kind of come to get the better prices on stuff that's back in the freezer and things, a little more leisurely. You can always stop and chat, find out what the specials will be, push for better senior discounts on the early bird special. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Normally, you're not supposed to combine the senior citizen discount with the early bird discount, but for you, Monica, of course. And so how about for Doris? Like, same questions. What reminds you why you love the fish market, or what about this place makes you hate coming down here?
The seagulls. I love the sound of them. I love the sounds that they make, but I hate what they drop.
Yeah, and they're pretty big up close, aren't they? They're like really huge.
Well, especially around here, they get there's so much that gets thrown out that it's basically like a buffet for them. It's like a smorgasbord, and so they can be fairly aggressive at times, and it's there is very little worse on the wharf than an aggressive seagull that has confused you with something it can eat or something that it should eat.
Yeah, so there's a particularly aggressive seagull that's near you. It's not attacking you, but it's stalking you. Like you can sense how it's like waddling over, like it's walking in that bird way, following you down the boardwalk.
I see you're familiar with Stephen.
And Stephen gives you an eye.
Got my eye on you, Stephen.
Takes another look at you.
One of these days, the sheriff is going to... I don't know what the sheriff is going to do, but the sheriff will do something about you, you ruffian.
When you mention the sheriff, you hear a squawk, and Stephen goes off for now as the two of you get closer to the fish market. And you see Etienne's waiting for you. He has his dapper little fedora on that he always wears. He always has a very nice tie that he always puts on. A little too nice, like almost wedding grade or funeral grade tie, but he loves his ties. He has a collection. Monica, I'm sure you've given him a casserole in the shape of a tie at some point.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've also gotten, every Christmas you get a tie, right? That's so easy to shop for him. I wish my daughter were as easy.
And
he never wears the bow tie I knitted for him, though.
Yeah, the moment he sees you, he smiles and he gets a little awkward. And you can tell he's thinking, please don't ask about the bow tie. Please don't ask about the bow tie. Are you going to ask about the bow tie?
I'm just going to ask if he has any imperfect cuts of cod that he can't really do anything with, because maybe I can get a little bit of fish to take home to the kiddies.
And he says, oh, yes. Of course, Doris, I always set aside a bucket for you and your babies. And your name, Doris's babies, are scrawled on the side of the bucket. And he says, would you like me to pack it for you? I'm still waiting for a few more pieces coming in, but if you want to pick them up early, that's also fine.
Could you? That'd be such a delightful thing. I'd really appreciate that.
Oh, of course, Doris. Anything for you. And he quickly starts wrapping it up. And he says, what do I owe the pleasure? Monica, can I get you something for your roses? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
She goes, I was hoping you would ask. So the fish emulsion has been working wonderfully on the roses, but I read the actual fish heads are the best thing for corn, and I am trying to grow some honest to goodness, native corn. That's what they say. It's like they had to recreate it, but the seeds are just beautiful. So I was wondering if you had some fish heads that you could spare or set aside for me. That would be wonderful, because I'm going to put some hills in.
Oh, yeah. Actually, my question for you, Monica, is who is your gardener rival in the community?
Grace. Grace, let's see here. Grace Amelin.
Right. And so he looks surprised when you ask him. He goes, "Oh, Grace was just asking for fish heads for native corn too. Great minds think alike."
She's been looking in my mailbox.
You have a sneaking suspicion that's how she got into it.
No, she saw my catalog order. I'm going to shop online from now on.
Yes, you can use your FaceTime tablet to do
Yes.
one other thing.
That's right. I have to call my daughter and ask how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell me how to do it and we're on FaceTime at the same time?
Yes.
I may have to buy a second one.
Yeah, a second machine. That's true. But yeah, and he says, "Oh, but yeah, sure. I'm sure Grace wouldn't mind sharing the fish heads with you." And he takes like half and sets it aside for you.
And she goes, "Thanks for the heads up."
That's right. We wouldn't want to get ahead of ourselves now, would we?
Oh, now I know why you're not married.
Now, both of you need to keep your heads about you, please.
Oh, that's right. We have business. And we she'll lean forward and she'll go, "I heard you have something back in the refrigerator."
And he has a face and he goes, "Oh, did the sheriff come by to ask help from you too?"
Well, that or he's pretty keen on Doris. I'm not sure which one.
Oh, yeah, and then he takes a look at Doris. You could
I'm
do
blushing.
better, Doris, though.
He gets so nervous whenever have you seen? It's like there's a river running off of his head.
Yeah, I could set you up. We have a speed dating party going on next week. Lots of people who'd be your type, Doris.
Etienne, you're much too young for me. I mean, you're only what, 40?
Oh, I meant other people, Doris. You know me and my fish. That's all I need. And he passes huge dead fish next to him. That's all I need in life to feel like my heart is full. But a lot of people your age, Doris, are signing up for these speed dating things. They tried the online stuff and it didn't quite work out.
I spent so long with John, and God rest his soul, I loved him. But everyone who has ever been with anyone for that long knows that no matter how much you love someone, there are things that just absolutely drive you bonkers about them. And it doesn't matter how long you live with them, you never get over that. And I lived with John all those years, and I loved him dearly. But God help me, I could never put up with another man who did half the things he did. Maybe I can date, maybe I can make tea for someone, but no. These days, I'm as free as the wind. Not that I would necessarily turn a date down, but a relationship that's no, not anymore.
You can just date around, use them up a little. That's fine. He says, "I'll put you on, and I'll send you the details later." But and he turns back to Monica. About what's in the freezer?
More fish heads, right?
Yeah. You know what? Why don't you go out to the back? It's the biggest freezer at the back, and I won't tell anyone you were looking around. Just between us.
You are a gentleman. Thank you very much.
But I am expecting that zucchini casserole next week, Monica.
Oh yes, I've got a number of zucchini with your name on it.
And what am I? What am I? Am I just chopped fish liver? Look, and I produce a cloth napkin tied with a little bit of sisal string. Say, I put this together just for you before we came over here. Freshly baked chocolate walnut cookies, just like you like them, nice and gooey.
Oh my gosh, this game is making me so hungry. I'm going to eat a bigger breakfast next time. But he looks at it and he goes, oh, and did you put in the fish flakes like I like them?
One of these days, I will cure you of that.
Oh, it's all right. Steven and I like them. And he picks up a piece of the cookie and he throws it towards the air, and your dreaded rival seagull shows
How
up to.
could you? And I just smile and pinch his cheeks and say, you're such a scamp.
Okay, so you head to the back and you see it really is the largest fridge. It's hard to miss. And let's have someone make a meddle move to see what they find in the fridge.
All right. Well, should I do this, or would you like to make a meddle move, Doris? I don't know if you have yet.
I don't think I have made a meddle move yet. So let's see. I think, under the circumstances, that reason is probably the most appropriate stat to roll with, because we're looking at a body here.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that is a 6 plus 1 is 7.
Okay. All right. Ooh, we've been getting close to low lately. All right. So I'm just going to we have more tabs than we started with. Okay. So on a 7, there's a complication. But you do get the clue. So the clue that you get is... As you go through the body, so you see that the body's there, it's frosted over. You do notice that his face has been frozen, kind of like a slight shock, like when you bite into a cookie and there's salt instead of sugar, like that kind of face that he has. And your husband used to make it whenever you switched out the salt and sugar. But you also notice that in his hand, he's clutching on to a piece of paper, which doesn't make sense because if he fell overboard, that paper would have been swept away by the water. It would have been waterlogged, but that paper has survived somehow, despite all of that. And it's a sequence of numbers written out on it.
What's the sequence of numbers?
It feels like it's hard to tell for sure, but you have a feeling that you can talk to someone in town to get more information on who this is. But I have to ask, Doris, why don't you want to talk to this person?
Henrietta Gable may be the town phone company representative, but she insulted my oatmeal scotchy recipe.
Yeah, she said it was predictable.
She also said it was insufficiently spiced. I'll show her spicy.
Absolutely. So you do have a feeling it's a telephone number, and you do have a feeling that she'd be able to tell you, but you're not looking forward to that conversation.
Monica, I don't know that I could keep my temper with that woman. You might need to do the talking for me.
Oh, that's just fine. No problem. No problem.
You get along so well with so many people. I don't understand how you do it.
You know, you see them every day. We get used to each other.
I get used to my cats.
I like your cats too.
They talk in their own way.
The tiger.
Yeah. Do you feel like it'd be fair for Doris to mark a condition that relates to how she feels about this person?
I don't mind.
Exasperate?
I was thinking, what about the condition plotting? Like maybe she's distracted by trying to figure out what spices she's going to put in her oatmeal scotchies to make them pop a little bit more or more vibrant or whatever the heck it is that Henrietta seems to like.
I like it. It's like a CSI moment where you're going over each recipe over and over again, and each possibility. Yeah, I like it. So go ahead and mark down plotting. That's a great idea. I love it. Okay, I think we have. We're still making pretty good time. So would the three of us like to? What would we like to do next? We can stop for a cozy moment if we want to take a break, or we can move on with the investigation as we like.
So when you say cozy moment, is that like when we get together and have a little chat?
Yeah, so basically you can, if you feel like it, let's see, the move is called the cozy move. When you have an intimate moment with another maven, while one of you is engaged in your cozy activity, choose 2 from below if it's your cozy activity, otherwise choose 1. Because you can, if it's your cozy activity, stumble on a clue relevant to the active mystery. So while you're
Are
in the
we
middle of
scheduled for 3 or 3.5 hours tonight?
3 hours. Oh, sorry, Richard, you're saying.
Yeah, well, I think maybe we could say we arrange to meet back at the museum, and we can do our cozy moment there. Maybe we'll even stumble across a clue.
Ooh, I like it.
In the history museum.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So I think as we're leaving, I'll stop by and ask Etienne for a list of the eligible bachelors that he knows are going to be at the meetup, because even if Doris isn't so sure. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He says, I had a feeling you'd ask, Monica. I prepared the list while you were inside.
I just know some ladies who might need a ride. That's all.
Oh, is that what we call them nowadays? A ride?
Wait, what?
And he hands over the list, wiggling his eyebrows.
Okay.
And there you go. So tell me about the museum, Ruby. What's it like?
Well, it's taken a while because when I moved into town, it was essentially a place where people just brought boxes of junk that were in their garages and attics, and figured that it was easier than taking it to the dump. And so there was just a lot. Like I spent years turning this place into an actual museum. But it's a lot of display cases, old tools. I'm kind of one of the reasons I chose to go this direction is because my mother, who lives in a West Coast seaside community, does work for the town museum and had this kind of situation dropped in her lap. So it's a lot of old machinery, tools, farm implements, quite a lot of whaling paraphernalia. But it's it's doesn't get a lot of visitors really, except during kind of the tourist season. But I put in a fair, I put in my shifts, manning it and talking to people who visit the town. And there's a little office in the back that I've kind of mostly made my own. That's kind of, they weren't using like financial software or anything like that before I came in. And, I've kind of modernized things, although the one thing that I haven't let go of is there's a big Rolodex that I've carried around for years going back that I occasionally dip into to get when I need a contact or tap somebody for that extra little bit of money. So yeah, it's kind of, but the office is kind of cluttered. There's a file cabinet that's full of all the documents and stuff that hasn't been scanned and all that kind of thing. So yeah, but it's we pretty much have the run of the place if we want it.
Absolutely. And so since this is your cozy activity, tell me about the charity event that you're working on and how the other two can help you.
Well, there is there's an upcoming town festival that is the Gay 90s event that kind of is a town-wide thing where people dress in period costume, and there's a parade and all that kind of stuff. And so the museum has to make its presence known. And so I'm trying to organize a float and displays and stuff that we can give away to people and all that kind of stuff.
Amazing. So I want to hear from our other Mavens. How are you going to help out with this event?
Well, the first thing I do is I unload some of the boxes that some people gave me to drop off at the museum. Since they bring you some more boxes of junk.
All right.
So she brings those in and she goes, "Now, what do you need me to do? I'm good with tissue paper. I can make flowers like nobody's business."
Well, Monica, I think you could go through those boxes and see if there's anything worth holding on to. The rest of it's, me. The rest of it's just going in the dumpster out back. So it's on you to figure it out, and then wrap up anything that seems useful. But and while we do that, we can chat about some ideas for what we might do for this parade.
Okay. Ooh. So you do have a lot of whaling tools. Could we make a big whale?
I last year it seemed like making a whale is kind of the go-to thing if you haven't noticed. So I think maybe we need to something with a little more zip. Maybe we can, I think maybe we can find some.
How about a history of murders?
To grab onto.
How about a history of murders in Brindlewood Bay?
I'm imagining a murder.
We could have the little scenes where they found the body in a locked room, all those things. It would be wonderful. Personalities. We could take the mannequins, dress them up in period dress. Have the murder weapon. It's a little ketchup.
Well, why don't
I would love that.
Yeah. I think I think that we'll start. We'll look for a murder that might have a notorious murder that might have happened during that time that we can reenact on a float.
Which could go into our clue, actually.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, I'd like to know, how is Doris going to contribute to this event?
Well, what I've done is after I checked out the museum's refreshments and made sure that the vintage percolator was still in working order, and I started brewing us a pot of coffee, I sat down and I started knitting historically accurate cable knit patterns from the period, particularly the Age of Whaling, from about 1850 through about 1920. And I'm trying to knit, I don't think I have enough time for this, but I can at least knit examples that can be put up in the museum, because my thought was that I was going to knit enough that it could be used, that it could be put around an entire float. But I think that might take a little bit too much time. But
Yeah.
Maybe for next year, maybe if I start now, I can get that done for next year.
Yeah. If you were crocheting, you might be able to do it in the evening.
So I was unclear when I read the rules, and now looking at it as well. Do we all make a cozy move, and then one of us has that extra option, or does only one of us roll?
Just one of you.
We don't roll, do we? We just do it.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
because I was thinking, so let's read it out for people who are listening or watching. When you have an intimate moment with another maven while one of you is engaged in your cozy activity, in this case, it's a charity event planning, choose 2 from below if it's your cozy activity. Otherwise, choose 1. And alternatively, if it's your cozy activity, you may stumble on a clue relevant to an active mystery. So there's that. But the other options are: you may ask the other player a question about their maven, which they must answer truthfully and completely. The other maven agrees on a particular course of action or give them a condition if they refuse. Or you can clear an appropriate condition. This can be chosen twice. And so you have 4 options.
Okay. Well, and if I were to choose the clue, then they would each choose 2 off the other list each.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if
Yeah.
let me quickly look up the cozy move, just so I'm sure. But I'll double check for sure after. But I just want to.
Yeah, that's kind of how it
Doris
reads.
and I get 1, and I think you get 2. So.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. So we can do that, and then I will double check next time. But yeah, good point. Also, a thing to note is if you choose to stumble on a clue, you tell me what the clue is, right?
Okay.
So that's an interesting fact. So you can just add whatever you like. Maybe we can start with Monica and Doris and their choices, and then we'll end on that clue. I mean,
Okay.
not that I'm forcing you, but, in case.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, cool. So let's start with Monica. Which one do you choose?
Oh, I think I'm going to ask another player a question about their maven that they have to answer truthfully and completely. And I think I want to know, of the bachelors in town, which is the one that she's most hoping will be going to this meetup that we're going to.
And who are you asking? Are you asking both?
I'm asking Doris.
Oh, there you go.
One other player. So
I can't believe you're asking me such a question.
We all need to think about that. We've got a lot of days ahead of us. It's nice to have someone over for a cup of tea now and then.
It is, but I would just rather it be someone that I actually like instead of some big lumbering.
Now, all these gentlemen don't lumber. There's a good number of slim ones.
Yeah, they slimber, not slumber.
Yeah.
Monica, the slim ones don't eat cookies.
What? I don't know.
They say they say something about carbohydrates or something like that, or something about, and the Atkins of whatever that is. They eat their sandwiches with lettuce instead of bread. Now, if I was going to invite anyone over for a cup of tea, I think it would be Sven Lundquist.
Oh,
He's
got quite the beard.
He does, but he also looks like someone who appreciates a cookie every now and then.
Right?
Now being now and then being 2 minutes from now.
No, I think that makes sense. And he doesn't lumber. I mean, all that time on the boat, he's pretty sure on his feet. That's a good choice.
Well, he managed not to fall off a boat in all those years. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he has to have something going for him. I mean, if he's not nimble, he's at least lucky.
Exactly. Oh, he's lucky that you kind of have the eye for him.
But if my cats don't like him, he is out.
Oh, that makes complete sense.
I like how all the women understand. Yes.
Yeah.
If he is not liked by the cats, he is gone.
Mhm.
Animals
So
can tell.
Also, you can't negotiate with a cat.
absolutely. I feel like you can like win over a dog, but a cat is like it'll take years.
They're like the most adorable little hostage takers.
They really are.
Okay, so Doris, why don't you go ahead and make a choice?
Oh, can I interrupt real quick? I looked over the move and in the rules, and the way that it looks is that and I think we might hack this a little bit, but is that it's since it's because it's like PBTA, it's like there's a trigger, which is that each character has a moment. Each of us is triggering the move. Right, so each person's going to get to do two things.
Oh.
Including clearing a condition or making somebody go to a party, or
I like how Richard put that in there. Make somebody go to,
or they take a condition. But and like the implication of the rule is that because it's like there's a way to read it that says that it has to, if you're asking a question, it's like they aren't having a cozy moment. They aren't having a cozy moment with each other. They're each having a cozy moment with me, but that seems kind of limiting.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that I don't see why if we're all together we couldn't just make it a free for all. But
yeah, so the idea it's more built like one-on-one kind of.
Oh,
yeah.
It's the thing from the other player. Okay, I get it. Where you're specific that I should be asking you.
Right.
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry.
No. Don't worry about it. I think it makes more. If you're willing to go with it, Jamie, I think it's better to just let it be open.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, thanks so much for clarifying that, Richard. Yeah, I do like the idea of it being more open, especially because there are just three of us, three Mavens. So I don't like the idea of one being left out all the time. Yeah, makes sense perfectly.
So yeah, you could use your other move to make her go to the party.
Doris? No. I would use it to ask you which bachelor you're interested in. So that's what I do. If I have a second move, I'm asking questions. So what are you looking for in a gentleman? Look at this fine list.
I spent, Ruby spends a lot of time trying to deflect it.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's a little more, I mean, I will ultimately answer this question, but because, Ruby is a lot more like brassy about it, and I know that Doris is a little more uptight. I kind of imply that maybe it's Doris that I'm interested in. Just because I've poked her that way a few times before. Because I know it gets a rise out of her.
Oh my.
But well, what do you ask? Who am I hoping is at the party?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna lawyer this one, and say, well, I hope that Eldridge Hawthorne is there because I think we lost a major donor, and I'd really love to buttonhole him and get a deeper commitment to the charity drive.
Well, his online profile suggests that he's interested in a deeper commitment. So this could be exactly your moment.
Absolutely.
I'm rooting for you.
Okay, so Doris, what choices do you make?
So, Ruby, who's Eldridge's rival in town?
Well, I don't know now because it used to be the guy in the freezer.
Oh.
Darn. Because if there's one thing I learned over the years, it's that you don't catch a man by going after him. You catch him by going after the person that he thinks you shouldn't be going after. Because then someone else showing interest in you makes you interesting and unattainable and a challenge. And don't you think Eldridge would be more interested in that?
I think that you confuse the art of, well, fundraising is a form of seduction, I suppose, but I think I know my business. I just have to get him into a corner.
Hmm.
I'm not used to being pursued. I do the pursuing.
Hmm. Is that why you pay so much attention to Lori?
Oh, that poor tragic girl. We'll find her person yet.
Do you think there's someone in town? I mean, I haven't noticed anyone that I think that would be good for Lori. I mean, they're all at that awkward age right now.
I keep knitting and say, there might be someone in this room.
She looks around.
I'm old and I like my crafts, but I'm not, well, I have eyes, Ruby. I can see.
You understand nothing of Bohemiana.
I beg to differ. I'm terribly modern. I know that Monica's shoes are from that West fellow.
Well, it gets fairly delicate in a small town. We'll have to let her find her own way, but I think we can help her bait her hook.
Is that what you call it these days? I'm afraid I'm not really up on slang anymore. You young people know the lingo much better than I do.
There's so many words for that, aren't there? Just occurred to me. So many words. You were saying?
Was
that using a question or was that just table talk?
You know what? I'll go ahead and say that was using a question.
Okay.
Because the other thing that honestly, if you're okay with that being table talk,
Yeah, I don't. Jammy, I guess that's up to
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, whatever you feel. If you feel it triggered that part of the move or not, that's entirely up to you.
I want to dare Ruby to ask Lori to this function.
And give a condition if they refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I won't refuse.
Good, because
But
that would have been
I'm
not very
slippery,
booking of you.
Sorry, you were saying Richard?
I'm saying, I'm pretty slippery, but I have to warn you ahead of time. I don't know that Ruby would survive, or not Ruby. Lori would survive.
Right. Would be able to handle it.
No.
Okay, so I think we're getting a little close to time. I think we have just enough time to reveal the clue. And I know that if we can't stay for stars and wishes, then that's okay. But let's at least. So let's see. What clue does Ruby come across?
There is a there is a copy of an old land title that calls into question the ownership of a large chunk of the estate of the what is it, the
Kraus?
yeah, the Krauses.
The Kraus.
Yeah,
the Krauses.
that seems to, if it's a copy, so there must be an extant version out there, so maybe that's causing trouble for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. So you find it among all the
in one of the boxes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was just brought in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say it comes in with these photographs of the Kraus family, old, from their ancestors, the ones who first established. This family has been around for a long time, ever since Brindlewood Bay first was founded. So these photos are quite old. But yeah, so you find that clue. You have more than enough to look into when we start the next episode. Is there anything anyone wants to bring up before we end the session here? We'll go over
about what murder we're going to put on the float.
Yeah, we might have found something there. Do we want to do our end of session experience stuff now, or?
Yeah, let me double check. I'm not sure if we're gonna do start with it next time, because the first session is a little different from the rest. Investigation. Yeah, let's go over our end of session questions. All right, so we're going to, let me pull it up on the screen, go over our end of session questions per person. Does everyone have enough time? Maybe another 5 minutes to?
Yeah,
okay,
I do.
Just double checking. But if anyone needs to leave, no worries. Okay, so let's go with Monica. So what are you didn't solve a mystery just yet, so what are your other two questions?
No, so did I dote on someone? I'm trying to think of who I haven't doted on. So there you go. She's a doter from way back. Did I show someone that I still got it? I don't think I explicitly did. So, except other than going for the list of bachelors, and that counts.
Well, I do think that Etienne thinks that you're rar, going after those rides. So if you want him to think that way of you, you can have that.
Sure. Him and his fish, they can think whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you have 2 XP. And let's look at Doris. What are your other 2 triggers?
Doting and any treasured memory of a family member, I think it was. Is that how it's worded on the sheet?
Yeah.
Just a memory, yeah, but
did you share a memory of a late family member? Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I talked about my dead husband's annoying habits and how I loved him despite that. But because of that, I don't really want another man. And I made Eddie on those cookies with the fish flakes. I mean, how is that not doting?
Yeah, it must have been awful putting in those fish flakes. But yeah, so that's 2
puts
XP.
fish flakes in cookies? Who asks for that?
Etienne.
All right, and last but not least, Ruby. What are your 2 triggers?
Did I share my wisdom with a younger person, which I'd say like maybe helping Lori with her makeup might qualify. And then did I behave like a woman half my age, which, I rode into town on the back of a Harley. I have flirted shamelessly. So, yeah, I think I probably hit them all.
Yeah. So everybody gets 2 XP. Good job, everybody. And then once you fill up the track, you can choose an advancement at any time, right? So typical PBTA where it's up to you when you want to cash in that XP.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think that's it for our session, but I'll stop the recording here and then we can get into a debrief so we can get into our stars and wishes. But thank you for everybody who's watching. That was our first session of Brindlewood Bay, the Murder Mavens. So see you all next time.